Oh, are we live?
We are now.
Oh, I didn't know.
Well, it was all muted till now.
Okay.
But where's your chat box? This may be like fucked up. Let me see here.
Okay.
See, I see it here, but where's my chat box?
From America's Dairyland.
Where's my chat box?
Bruce Wayne has entered the chat.
I know, it's gonna be a pain without a chat box. You have to be looking at the phone.
What if we restart it?
It sounds... Let me see. You can start talking.
Good evening. I don't know if anyone's here yet, but welcome to my live this evening.
That you can't see a chat box.
I just want to let you guys know, as of right now, I can't see the chat box, so if you're like writing anything to me, I might be able to see it pop up on the screen here. Lexi's joining us too to help me moderate. So Jason's just kind of maybe going to help me with what you guys are putting in the chat box. Yeah.
Hopefully I'm trying to find the chat box.
Jason does have his own merch. He's got a Ring My Ding-a-Ling tee that he just got in today, so can they buy them yet?
Yes, it can.
Over
I've got to figure this out soon.
Okay.
That's not important. My stuff ain't important.
I'm gonna need a chat box for this one.
On your phone. I'll pull it up while I try to figure out how to get it to come up on there.
So I've been doing these like dietitian Q&As with you guys, and I mentioned doing more like specific topics for lives. Not a nutrition fitness one tonight, you guys. I kind of wanted to take a little break from that, do something a little bit different, and I've been sharing that I watched the Britney Spears documentary from the New York Times, The Framing Britney Spears. Many of you guys had watched it as well and had thoughts and opinions on it, so I thought it would be fun to actually just kind of like chat a bit about that tonight. I am going to be looking over here on my phone in case you guys see me look. Oop. Crap. Where'd it go? So I'm going to be looking at the phone for the chat box because I'm not seeing it on the computer. So
hopefully I can get it.
So just so you know if I'm looking in different places. But thank you guys for joining me tonight. I know this is super specific. So nutrition topics, please hold and go over to my Instagram. I just did a story post today with a little question box for you guys to enter in your nutrition topics that you'd like me to cover. March is natural. Whew.
National Nutrition Month?
National Nutrition Month. These straight after work long day talks are rough for me sometimes. But National Nutrition Month is March. So thank your dietitians, give them a hug, send them some love. But I kind of wanted to do a little bit more focused content on Instagram. Problem is I don't take enough pictures to go along with the content I want to talk about, but I do already have some ideas going. So if you have nutrition questions, throw them over on Instagram. If you have an Instagram account, Kara Corey Fit Life over there, I'm going to save those. I'll probably do some content on my YouTube as well, but I was thinking about utilizing that for some of my Instagram posts for the month as well. So long story short, nutrition info is still going to be coming for you guys. So yeah, but tonight we want to talk about some Britney Spears action. Britney Spears is basically just like a pop culture icon to me, and being similarly in age, it's just like a different connection. You know what I'm saying? Like, people might like her music, but if you're from my era, you just know, like, the pop culture era of the 2000s was just wild. So kind of grew up with all that, and you know, it's just kind of been weird to see what's happened to Britney Spears, and just, you know, thinking back now after watching the documentary, thinking back to that period of time when all this was occurring and how it was being handled in the media, and maybe how we were even responding to it as well. In retrospect, it's just, it's very sad. I think that's a common theme, that a lot of us feel very sad. And I'm not the expert on the Free Britney movement. I mean, a bunch of you guys had been sending me stuff on it before I even knew about it, actually, just because you guys knew I loved her. But it's a pretty deep rabbit hole you can go down into. I think I'd need like a full month off from work to really investigate it all and kind of gather all the facts. There's tons of web sleuths out there that have already done all the research. There's an actual Brittany Graham podcast dedicated, and I haven't listened to it yet, so if you guys have, let me know in the chat box. But there's a whole podcast dedicated, these two comedians who actually break down Britney Spears' Instagram posts, because if you guys follow her post on Instagram, clearly it's a bit weird. Things are a bit weird. They've been weird for a while, but I think the New York Times documentary really brought to light a lot of things that I wasn't clear on with her treatment and her conservatorship. So if you guys have a drink, cheers. Tonight I am drinking, we've got MTS Naturalite. And then I also have in here Ambrosia Nectar. What did I just use? The strawberry basil flavor, I believe. Was gonna pour me a little adult drinky drink, but I just committed myself today to be better, okay? For at least a week and a half. We're gonna give it a solid effort for a week and a half, see where we can go. But I'm going to take a look and see if you guys have any comments yet. So that Britney documentary from the New York Times, I was able to find it on YouTube, Framing Britney Spears. Tonight when I went to look it back up again, and maybe I need to switch my VPN or something, but I was not able to find it. So I'm not sure if you guys have found it or watched it or not, but very eye-opening. So that's where I watched it. Yeah, they maybe have pulled it down, or try switching your VPN. I know some of my Canadian sisters like needed to do that and they were able to find it, but quick search tonight, I did not find it. There's also, so after I watched Framing Britney Spears, I had to go back and try to find her other documentary, which I watched at the time in 2008, but the perspective now watching it in 2021, called For the Record. It was this like 60-day documentary that was done where camera crews followed her around. And apparently like the scoop is this is when Circus, that album, was coming out. She had just basically, this was in like 2008, the conservatorship was just established. Things were pretty hectic and they like pushed her into this huge, intense media flux of everything, basically the VMAs, the documentary. They were trying to push out like a whole reality show comeback series for her, but I think they ended up condensing it into this For the Record documentary. If you guys have watched that documentary, let me know in the chat box, because it's really interesting to go back and watch it now. I found it on Vimeo, if that's how you say it correctly, but again, that might be pulled down now because people were saying it's really hard to find. You can find bits and clips of it on YouTube, but I think it's really kind of interesting to go back and watch that documentary, because that is when it was established that she was incapable. Like, she was mentally not able to make decisions. So let's talk about that a little bit. You guys may or may not know, I have a background working in a psychiatric center. I've worked there since 2007. So I have worked with mentally ill for a majority of my career. I work in the business office operations now. I'm more administrative, so I don't work directly with the patients, but I'm still very well versed with healthcare and mental health at a state psychiatric center. So what we see in New York State oftentimes with some of our elderly patients or those who are not mentally capable of making their own decisions, whether it be for their health care or their finances and or both. Typically in New York State we call that a guardianship, but I think based on the state it's either conservatorship or guardianship similarly. But in general you see it mostly with elderly folks, and from my experience, more with the elderly and those mentally really not capable of making their own decisions. So, you know, we've sent patients out to courts where they are deemed incapable of making their own decisions for their medical needs. That may be where, you know, not to go off on a tangent, but things like treatment over objection is what it's called, where the court can deem that, where we as medical staff have the right to hold them upon whether they want to or not to administer their medications. So there's tons of layers here, you guys, when it comes down to this kind of stuff. And on first glance, Britney Spears, let's just talk candidly. Things seem a little weird, right? Like, things are a little kooky. They have been for a while. You follow her Instagram, you're like, even pre-COVID, she's just been locked in her house, wearing her tiny little pajama shorts, dancing around in her living room, seemingly living her best life. But at the same time, when you look back at interviews with Britney, she's not stupid, she's not dumb. She's super intelligent, she's a businesswoman. She was clearly capable through all the previous footage, documentaries, interviews. A very smart girl, regardless if you deem her a hillbilly or whatever people were calling her back in the day. A very smart girl, capable of making decisions, understanding what's going on. This is not to say that someone cannot have trauma or things that occur that may change their mental capacity. But when you look at that period of time where she started to go off the rails or what have you, this was back in 2007. When you really look into it and think about the way in which the media pushed her, it almost seems like, any of us can suffer with, a little bit of crazy in us, right? And I use that term very lightly, but I think, what the media did to her and how we responded to it, it was just like, this girl had no privacy. She was so famous and still is so famous. And we treat those people differently. That was a time where the paparazzi were everywhere. I think nowadays with social media, I don't think you're getting as much money for your paparazzi photos to sell to Us Weekly and In Touch magazine. Back then, good frickin' money if you got the best photo. So these people were up in her doing whatever they could to get these pictures. Bruce Wayne, we're not playing with your alligator right now. And I look at that and it makes me sad. She was in a position of never having any privacy. She and Kevin Federline, I think, were getting divorced at the time. They were in this custody battle. And there was some weird stuff that went down where, the first instance was her kind of locking herself in her house or her bathroom with her kids. But she had someone there who was maybe a friend, maybe not a friend. I don't really know the intent of why she locked herself in there, but if I was Britney Spears, I would probably want to lock myself in a room with my kids to have a little privacy. Maybe things were more intense than that, but maybe not. I mean, she did get gurneyed away basically on a psychiatric hold, and that kind of initiated a lot of the conservatorship stuff. The Beck Life, what is the guardianship? What's the new Netflix show? I'll have to take a look at that, but just to gain some more insight, because look, we don't know everything. All we know is what we see on social media, right? All we know is what we see and hear in these documentaries. So there's always two sides to the story, right? All I can say is her dad seems like a total creep. I'm just gonna give you my opinion, and that's all that is. It's an opinion, you don't have to agree with it, but he seems like a total creep. When you look back at her life and follow her story, her father, Jamie Spears, was not in her life, whatsoever. Throughout her rise to stardom, you would think it would have been him there. Now, I do understand she had a little sister that maybe he had to stay home with, but it's just weird how what you hear from other folks is that he was never around, or if he was around, all he was talking about was the money. So I'm sorry, but if I was rising to stardom, that would not be how my father would act. So I just think he's an absolute creep, that he was nowhere to be found, interestingly enough, until she goes on this psychiatric hold. Now there's this other person involved too, Lynn Tom? I forget her name. Let me know in the comments if you guys have heard of this other person who was kind of like a business manager, but at the same time there was some information leaked that Britney Spears felt like she was actually stalking her. She seemed a little creepy, and she also had some history there with the Lohans, or Lowens, however you say Lindsay Lohan's last name, also trying to get Lindsay Lohan into a conservatorship. not to tangent, but this kind of parallels the Amanda Bynes stuff. If you guys are familiar with Amanda Bynes, she also is under a conservatorship from her parents. She also kind of had some of the same like events as Britney did, you know, to a different degree. She didn't have children involved and other things like that, but Amanda Bynes is kind of similar in a way, and she still has some kookiness going on out there, but just another pop culture girl to look into. But yeah, so her father was like not around until this conservatorship opportunity arose. And with celebrities, it just, how can your mind not go there? She's worth $40 million plus, and you know, if you get involved, that's going to be a nice fat paycheck for you. And so when you start to look into the events of how that transpired, it really seems like, and again, this is one-sided, this is just the stuff I looked at, there's always two sides to a story, but it was like, so they got her on a second 51.5 or whatever it is out in California, they got her on another medical hold, and that is when the conservatorship stuff started taking place. And Britney Spears did want a certain attorney. They mentioned this in the documentary. I can't remember his name, but she wanted him to represent her. And she specifically said, do not have my father. I'm not comfortable with my father taking hold of my assets and being the one making decisions for me. She was very clear on that. And then this other gentleman who ends up representing her comes in for some unannounced 15-minute interview with her and deems she's incapable of making decisions. So the way a conservatorship works is there's certain things the conservatee is supposed to be allowed a certain time frame for notices in terms of the court dates and having proper representation, so you can get proper legal representation. And she wasn't given any of that. She's in a psychiatric hold while all this is going on, and they deem she's incapable. And they deem she's incapable of making decisions while she doesn't even have a diagnosis. Like, I saw they threw around that she had bipolar, but at the time, and maybe she has that true diagnosis now, I'm actually not sure. I don't know if you guys know, but at the time it was like she was on Adderall. Like, dude, I feel like not me, but everyone was on Adderall. Like, I knew so many people on Adderall saying they had bad anxiety and needed to be on Adderall. And a lot of celebrities, I think, went on it as a weight loss means as well, which we all knew. They threw Britney Spears through the ringer the second she gained an ounce of pudge, even though she had 2 babies and still looks better than 75% of Americans. I mean, I don't even get how you can attack her for her physique, literally ever. She has an incredible body. People are ridiculous and disgusting. Do better, people. Do better with your lives. So anyways, like, none of that makes sense. Okay, the documentary is called I Care a Lot. Oh, it's a series. Okay, I'll definitely check that out. Thanks for sharing that. And don't you guys find it weird too? So like, Jamie Spears, her father's involved with this co-conservator who's some other dude, and I don't even know what his role is in all this, but he's getting a fat ass paycheck of like $500,000 a year. So it's like, how do you not think that they don't have bad intentions when all of a sudden you say she's incapable, and then you immediately throw her into How I Met Your Mother. She's doing a TV episode like 1 month later. You've got her working. Was that Britney's idea, or you're just trying to use her as your cash cow? And then immediately she's going into the whole studio doing Circus. Phenomenal album. Oh my gosh, just pulled that out of my closet the other day. Phenomenal album. How are you telling me? And I'm not saying she's not mentally ill, you guys. Let's also talk about that stigma too as a tangent for a second. Just because you're mentally ill, even the folks that I see at a state psychiatric level, which is known to be like the worst, these are smart people. These are people like you and I. They should not be stigmatized. There are people that struggle, and there are people that sometimes do have chemical imbalances and things that genetically they can't control, and they do need medication for. Like, who doesn't need medication in 2021, okay? Let's just call that as it is. But now I lost my train of thought. I was on a roll though, but I lost my train of thought. Okay, so yeah, so they're co-conservators, and her mom's just like out of the picture when her mom was like there her entire life. Her assistant Felicia, they brought that up, which I was always like, where'd Felicia go? Like, there's tons of other like documentaries on YouTube that I would watch for Britney Spears because I was obsessed with her. Felicia was always there, like her best friend, she would say. She's just gone. They've pulled Felicia out of her life. They basically start pulling all the people out of her life that were good. I guess there were some bad figures in there, the Sam Lutfi guy, and then she was like dating a paparazzi dude. Like there's just been a lot of different people in and out of her life, but it seemed like all the like key people who were with her when she was successful and in her prime, they were just removed. I don't know why. Her cousin Allie spoke out recently after the documentary, basically saying Jamie Spears, Britney's father, threatened her, like literally threatened her. She's a blood-related cousin, threatened her to get out of her life. She was someone who was very prominent in Britney's life during that transition period, the 2007-2008 period. She's threatened, so Allie's just like, what am I gonna do? Like, I'm not allowed to call her, see her. So Britney feels very alone, very isolated, and she speaks to that in her Off the Record documentary. If you can go back and watch it, she's sad, and she seems like it seems like they say off the record, but there's definitely more Britney Spears wanted to say in that documentary that I'm sure she was not allowed to say. I'm sure everything had to go through Jamie Spears, but it was clear. She said it. She's sad. She's alone. She just wants to be able to go down the street and drive her car. Like, how is someone able to pump out all those albums, do all those performances for Circus, go on that huge tour? You have her down in Vegas for how many years doing shows night after night after night. I'm not saying she's not mentally ill, but I feel like in what world, like how are they proving her to be so incompetent and not capable of making decisions for herself? And even if that's the case, how are these people able to just continue to treat her like a workhorse so that they can capitalize on that cash flow coming in? Because Britney has no say over that money. So I just found it very interesting that like her second stint down in Las Vegas, she ended up like walking off and saying she wasn't gonna do it, and it came out that like Jamie Spears was having some health issues, but to me it seemed like she was taking a stance for herself, like she wasn't gonna continue to pound out the time and the money when she's not able to live her life. And since then, she's just been like locked in her house, you guys. Like this is pre-COVID. Like this chick has not gone anywhere. And she does some rather crazy Instagram posts where, you know, there's all the theories there too with her Instagram posts. I don't know if you guys believe any of them or not, but just that she's like giving us signs like if she's okay or not okay, or, you know, she did a post recently after the documentary hit, like, you know, I haven't really gone too far into those conspiracies with her Instagram posts, but, you know, she'll be like, oh, you guys have been asking me lots of questions, so I'm going to answer some of them today. And she'll be like, what's my favorite color? It's blue. And I'm just like, no one's asking you these questions, Britney. Like, people are literally asking you 17,000 times in the comments, like, are you okay? Give us a sign. Celebrities are now coming out, like, sharing their experiences. Like, Drew Barrymore just shared her experience with a psychiatric hold and things like that. Just, you know, I do feel like, yes, I gotta look at some of your comments too to see what you guys are talking about here. Yeah, Julie, I totally agree. There's like huge conflicts of interest. And the other thing too is it seems super convenient. Like literally every time there was a court hearing, like they made a reason Britney couldn't go. Like she wasn't able to go the first time because she was on the psychiatric hold. And that's the initial like conservatorship when they set that up. And then not long afterwards, there were secondary hearings. And I think the excuse was like they started Britney on a new medication. So it was, you know, the judge said she couldn't go. Like it just seemed like everyone's working for the same team, and it's like Team Jamie Spears, like not wanting this girl to prove herself is capable. Like, and it seems like all parties involved, yeah, it's a huge conflict of interest. Like she wasn't even represented from the attorney she wanted to be represented by. Like she's not capable of choosing her own attorney, but you're saying she's capable of running $1 million Las Vegas show? Like, no, I'm sorry. I know how bipolar works. I know how mental illness works. You don't just pull it together for 2 hours on stage. It's not how it works. It just doesn't, you guys. So something's definitely not right here. And Julie, I do think like she's probably is bipolar. She's probably got some issues going on. There were some rumors that like some of the bad people in her life, like the Sam Lefty, were drugging her. Who knows? Like, we don't know. I'm sure there's two sides. I'm sure she clearly has some mental health issues. But I don't buy that you go from 2008 to 2018, a decade-long career, still pounding out albums, music, the tours, the dancing, everything, and not be somehow competent to make decisions for yourself, whether it be for your own finances and assets or your medical decisions. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like New York State and California are super, like, on the same page with a lot of stuff with how we handle things in terms of, like, policies and just healthcare systems, and I don't know, it's just not what I've seen in New York State, and I work for the Office of Mental Health, and we have the most psychiatric centers in the entire US, so I feel like I'm an expert. Yeah, I just feel like, I agree, Christina, like, she was a small town girl from Louisiana. Like, she just made it big being this small town, sweet Southern girl who just exploded. And I'm sure, like, who could ever prepare themselves for, like, that amount of fame and the amount of what came along with it? And again, remember, this was the time where it was the Lindsay Lohans, Paris Hilton, the Kardashians. It was all about that, like, nightlife scene, the paparazzi photos, the In Touch in the Us Weekly magazines. I was buying them. Like, they were all the rage. Like, everyone wanted to see the latest photos, what they were wearing, how skinny they were, who they were dating. Did they look like a slob on this day? What was in their purse? Like, we spent money to know that shit, you guys. Like, so paparazzi was doing literally everything they could. I mean, how do you manage your life? And she was the most famous. And she also kind of got to a point where, like, you saw it in the Frame documentary. People like Diane Sawyer, like, screw you, Diane Sawyer. We should be supporting women, not making them feel bad because she's sexy. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I can't even believe how that dialogue went. And I'm glad Justin Timberlake said something, because it's like, yeah, he was looked at like a friggin' hero because he writes Cry Me a River and paints Britney Spears like she's the bad guy. We don't even know what happened, and who cares? Let's say Britney Spears cheated. Who cares? When a guy cheats, who cares? Like, why did the tables have to turn on her like that where Diane Sawyer interviewed her? Did you guys see that interview clip? That was so cringy and terrible to watch. And I'm sure Diane Sawyer maybe doesn't care, or maybe she looks at that and feels bad, but I think that was terrible. She basically made her feel bad for being a sexy woman, and what did she do so wrong to Justin Timberlake? And, you know, I don't know. It was just very bizarre. And I don't know if any of us noticed it at the time, but looking back, it's like, you can't talk to people that way. I mean, you can, but it just seemed like they were like pushing her. So she got to the point where she was just gonna be who she was, you know? She was gonna be outrageous. Do you guys remember she did the little, when her and Kevin Federline, I feel like that was her like rebellious stage. She got the dark hair. She was drinking her Starbs, eating her Cheetos. We got all those paparazzi photos. And she did that outrageous, was it called Outrageous? You can still find, if you're bored, you can still find on YouTube like clips from that show when they were on. But her and Kevin Federline, like, it was like she was the initial vlogger, you guys. Before YouTube existed, Britney Spears was like, I'm gonna vlog my life and I'm gonna show you how it really is. So actually, go find that if you're interested. It's super, like, she's actually a very good vlogger, and it was very interesting because you really kind of just got a feel for who Britney Spears really was and who she was wanting to be without other people managing her. Like, I feel like that's when we kind of saw the true Britney. And yeah, maybe she was like rebelling a little bit, but like, who wouldn't in her situation where she was probably told what to do in every aspect of her life, you know? Who wouldn't want to just kind of like live their life? And I think she kind of got some crap for like drinking and smoking weed, and again, like, who cares? Who cares about that stuff? Like, who doesn't? Like, and if you do, who cares? Like, why make her out to be some horrible person because you've deemed she should be this proper influence for like all the tweens of the world? I just think that's a bunch of crap. I'm really going off here, guys, so let me know your thoughts in the chat box here. I'm trying to take a look here. Yeah, like, she was a kid, you guys. Like, she was trying to figure out her life too, and I don't care. Like, just because she was sexier than some of the other people, like, I don't know. I don't quite get it.
2 servings? The sage of it? Or do you want
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mix a little milk in there.
Just a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Well, as much as you need. Yeah, Alexi, I totally agree. That, I think, to me, hit home the most when I watched that documentary, is like, no one cared about her mental health then. When we saw her shave her head, when we saw her smash the bat against the Jeep, when we saw her like hanging out with the bad crowd, it was almost like we attacked her more. Like, the media attacked her more, like, and picked on her more, versus saying like, this poor girl, like, does she need help? Like, she's clearly going through some stuff. No, that was not done then. And I would hope we would do things differently now, but at the end of the day, if it comes down to like the paparazzi was in that documentary saying like he got like an amazing photo of her. He got her to the point of acting irrationally where she started smashing. It wasn't with a bat, it was with her umbrella, right? But he got her to the point where she smashed his car, and he acted like, oh, she never acted bad towards me, like, kind of playing like he never provoked her. Like, dude, you're a paparazzi. Your job was provoking. That is what you did. I don't know. But yeah, I found that interesting too. Okay, so Kara, that's super interesting. The California Code governing conservatorship, language in the code like goals for increasing the conservatee's functional abilities to whatever extent possible in best interest of the conservatee. Like, where is that happening for her? Where is that happening? And again, we don't see everyone's lives through social media. You guys don't see my entire life through social media. So maybe these things are happening, but all signs are definitely pointing to they're not happening, you know? Like, it's just not seeming right. It seems very weird. Her mom's not involved. All these people were like pulled out of her life. She was forced to just, I don't know, maybe she wanted to continue with her career, but it just seemed like they were pushing every opportunity for her to make money. When it seemed like in 2008, all she wanted to do was be heard. These are her words. Listened to, and no one was hearing what she was saying ever. She just wanted to take her car out and go for a drive, you know? And in the For the Record documentary, that's what they showed. That was like a special treat. They like took her out one day and let her drive her car. It was a surprise. And it's like, she's a grown-ass woman, fully capable of driving her car. As long as she's got a license and she ain't drunk, why can't she drive her car down the road? Are you kidding me? Like, I don't know, guys. Sketchy stuff. Yeah, and the virginity questions, like, again, do we do that to people nowadays? Who cares? Like, it was like at that point in time when it was all about, like, I know Jessica Simpson was kind of this, it's not good. Maybe that flavor. Use the chocolate one. Like, Jessica Simpson was like a Christian girl all about her virginity too. So I don't know if it was like the comparison thing going on, but I feel like the media, they put a lot of false expectations on her. And then when she started saying F it and being who she wanted to be, it was like, again, it was like she could do no right. It didn't matter, you know? What were some of the other sketchy things from that I wanted to bring up? I know, don't you just miss jamming out to Britney Spears? Like, I think about Jason and I used to throw these really good Halloween parties. I like to think they were the best, but it's been a long time since we've done that. Those were back in our apartment days. But we'd always have Britney Spears playing, and it was always the best time. I was Britney Spears for Halloween one year. If you guys saw my recent, not so recent, whatever, I did it this past year, my Halloween costume video. You'll see my Britney Spears Slave For You costume in there. Obsessed. But yeah, I miss the simpler times, and I miss Britney Spears. Like, I feel like after, like, looking at all this, I'm just like, that's what's missing in my life. Like, I need, like, a good Britney Spears album. Like, I need her to go back on tour. Like, I never got to see her in Vegas. My sister and brother did. I wasn't able to go. But I did see her with my sister in Canada. That maybe was 2008 when I saw her in Canada. I can't remember. That was when things were weird. I can tell you that from physically seeing her at that concert. She didn't, I don't know if you guys remember this, but she was being critiqued like she wasn't the same dancer. Remember what a crazy dancer she was in that video with Madonna? Now I can't think of the name of the song, someone tell me, but her dancing was insane. I mean, we all know she wasn't known to be the best live singer plus dancer on stage. She was more known to, like, kind of more lip sing a bit while she did some crazy ass shit on the stage. She was known for her entertainment value, her theatrics, her slamming body, the costumes, the whole works, you know? And then when we saw her in concert, I remember it was very, like, slowed down Britney. Like, the dancing was very, like, is that me drunk on the stage? Was kind of like how it looked. So things were definitely a little off then. It makes me wonder, like...
Not injured?
Hmm?
Not injured?
Injured? Maybe injured. Maybe were they
if you hurt your back, you ain't moving fast.
Well, she's not able to make medical decisions for herself, so who knows what medicines they're putting her on. She has no say over what they're providing her with, you know? And I can tell you the psychiatric medications, whew, they are doozy, you guys. A lot of trial and error on those bad boys, and they do change you. They change your personality, so it's a risk versus benefit with a lot of psychiatric folks in terms of, are you a harm to yourself and others? Can you properly reintegrate back into the community? Or are you now basically almost like a vegetable, but a couple notches up? Like, that's, I don't know, the meds are crazy, what they can do to you. So it's really important to have a good doctor, a good treatment team around you of individuals. Also people who listen to you and want to know how you're feeling and wanting to know your symptoms. These are questions I have. Like, are people actually, like, working with Britney to make sure she is on the right medications and that she's feeling okay? And where are her symptoms at? I don't know. Yeah, it definitely takes me back to my 20s for sure. The good old days. Oh, the 20s. It was such a good time. I just miss Britney. Like, I want her to come back. I want to make sure she's okay. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too, Lita. Like, I feel like, have they just given her so many drugs and different things at this point? There may be no coming back from it. It may be how she is now. Sometimes I wonder that when I see her Instagram post with how she acts. To me, she does seem like someone who is medicated. She acts almost childlike, and that's not a critique. Like, I'm not judging because I'm a huge child, but just, do you know what I'm saying? Do you guys agree with me on that with some of her posts? But yeah, and the fact that, Christina, like you're saying, it's suspicious that this has gone on 13 years. 13 years. Now, just the past year or two, she's been laying low, and I personally think she's just taking a stance. But you're telling me 13 years of her life, she's now 39 years old. So from 26 to 39, There was nothing we were able to do from a young adult from 26 to 39 to help, like we mentioned here in the chat box, to help better her, to make sure that she can kind of function more normally. We haven't been able to accomplish that. So I'm sorry, I feel like someone's to blame. Say the conservatorship was necessary in 2008. Okay, fine, understood. But what is being done to get this girl out of that? You're telling me it's just gonna be riding this out until her father dies and someone else takes it over? Now, I know there was a recent hearing, and I guess I'm not totally clear on how that went, other than there is going to be another hearing, and I think they're trying to get Jamie pulled off the conservatorship, but I don't know. Yes, and Letitia, that's the other point I wanted to bring up too. I kind of feel like she probably did agree to it, because I think that they were almost kind of emotionally telling her, like using her kids as bait. Like, Brittany, do you want to see your kids again? Because she didn't have rights to see her kids. Like, Kevin Federline got full custody and she wasn't even allowed to see them because of her psychiatric hold. So I feel like they played into those emotions as a woman, as a mother, as someone who you've taken every single support system she had around her. You've removed that. This girl's isolated. She's alone. She's sad. She's depressed. And now you're saying, look, Brittany, this is the way. This is the way to see your kids again. Who wouldn't do what they're being told is the quickest route to be a mom? Her kids were young. She had her 2 young boys out of her life. And that, to me, seemed to be the theme. Like, she was doing what she could do to be with her children. It was always about her children. Now, they tore her a new one through the media for how she was as a mother. Whatever. You know what? I just think that's absolute shit as well. Like, people got to stop being self-righteous like they're the best mother, and if you don't do the same exact thing as them, then you're a terrible mom. Get over yourself, okay? Let everyone do their own thing. But it seemed like it was emotional blackmail. That's a great point. I totally agree. So I do think that was part of it. Part of why she agreed to it, went along with it, thinking this was going to be the route to see my children and have my children in my life. Do you think she agreed to it thinking that it was going to be 13 years of her life? And can we talk about her boyfriend really quick too? I want to know what you guys think about her boyfriend. And she's had multiple relationships during this time, right? Like, she had that other guy there. He was like a silver fox kind of looking guy. I can't remember his name. And they were together a while. Can't remember if they were engaged or not. I forgot. I wanted to kind of snoop on him and get some of his deets. Ralph Lauren? Were you making out with Ralph Lauren? That was Kenny the Copy Guy. But she's had a few different boyfriends, so I'm kind of like, how does that work? Like, is there a screening process that her dad puts her through? And now she's with that guy Sam, who also went on record, who doesn't really say too much about their relationship, right? But he did go on record saying her dad's basically a dick. And yeah, he would like him out of their lives so that him and Brittany can live a normal life. So I found that very interesting. I was always skeptical of him and the validity of their relationship. Like, this guy's like a model / like sponsored by a protein company, just like some random dude off Instagram that I guess she met at like a music video. But the relationship seems odd. Maybe it's not, and Sam's just sticking it through for some normalcy. But I don't know. What do you guys think on the relationship there? I just kind of feel like they don't let her do anything. She'll show a couple snippets where her and him randomly have gone on trips. She recently posted like a photo, blessed from the past, of them going to Maui. But like, someone's making that decision for them, where she's allowed to go, how long she's allowed to go for, what security is with her. Like, I don't know. It's such a dignity issue for me. Working in mental health, my healthcare folks can relate. Dignity to me is everything. And as a human being, the older you get, the more you think about dignity and your own self-dignity and your rights. and thinking about what's being taken away from you. And how does that feel to you as a person? Like, if we don't have dignity, like, if we're not even being able to make our own decisions, how does that break you down mentally as a person? You know? I don't see what they're doing for her to help her get out of this. You can live a successful life being bipolar, regardless of what DSM criteria you're given. You can live a happy, healthy life, medicated, reintegrated into society, fully capable. I've seen a lot, how do I say this? I've seen people who are in a lot worse shape than Britney Spears be discharged from our hospital, who go out on the streets and they're as good as they're gonna get, but we give them the opportunity to get back out into the community. They are medicated, they are as stable as they're gonna get. They either have a rep payee to assist with their finances, maybe they do have a guardian. Oftentimes they don't. They usually have someone, some type of social work to assist them, but like they're able to go out in the world. They're able to go drive a car if they need to. They're able to do the things they can. And I don't know. I think that's where this really hits home with me, from that mental health aspect, that it just, and she's Britney fucking Spears, you guys. Like, come on. I'm not seeing it. Is anyone disagreeing with this? Like, does anyone feel otherwise? Look, I do believe there's two sides to a story. I'm sure there's certain things that have gone on where this girl needs help, needed some help, but it seems like this was taken to a different place where there was more financial gain for those parties who are invested in it. I do always save these lives for you guys, so if you weren't able to stay for the whole thing, or you want to come back and watch it after the fact, it will be saved here on YouTube for you guys. Let's see. It just, from what I saw, and there's a lot of stuff public, so I haven't actually gone through. I'm more like hitting the highlights of other videos I've looked at that have summarized it, but a lot of the conservatees' rights, it seems like were not met. And it's hard because you're thinking, this is like a legal court system. Like, why are the proper rules and regulations not being followed? This shit probably happens all the time, you guys. Like, I don't care if it's law or not. When there's financial gain to be gained, there's ways around it. There's always ways around it. There's always politics. There's always money. There's always that underlying theme. And unfortunately, I think we still see it in the court system. I'm not an expert on that, but that's just kind of my thoughts as a true crime lover. Does anyone remember her other boyfriend? I kind of wonder what happened with them during this whole time, because she seemed to be out and about more when she had this other boyfriend, and I thought they were engaged, but yeah, that's the other question. It's like, she's 39 years old. When does she get the opportunity to fail? Okay, let's just roles reverse here. Maybe she's not competent. Maybe she's not. But at least from my standpoint, the way we do things in the hospital, and I'm not a social worker or a psychiatrist, but we always try to get people to the best place possible. And when we can no longer do more for them, not a harm to self or others, give them a chance to go back into the community. We give them that chance. When is she going to be given that chance? She's been locked down for 13 years. When does this girl get given a chance to try to live her life and to try to prove herself otherwise? What's so harmful is going to happen? She blows through all her money? Okay. That's her right. That should be her right, in my opinion. Right now, the court's saying it's not her right, it's her father and the other dude's right. I just feel like, at what point do we allow her to see if she is capable? And at what point are they gonna actually let her go to her court hearings? Would that not be helpful? That always seems fishy to me. Why is she sitting in her mansion, not going to these court hearings? Who and what is going on there? Does anybody know? I have questions. Thank you, Rachel. Rachie BB Fit, she's a social worker joining us. She says anyone with a diagnosis is capable of so much more than what people give credit for. 100% agree. I mentioned that before. I work with the illest of the ill in New York State. I live and work in an area where we have a pretty, we're kind of like a little bit of a melting pot here, if you will, in Syracuse, New York, with an influx of a lot of different people from a lot of different places. So we get a lot of refugees, we get a lot of different folks from all different walks of life, different places of life, and we get some of the sickest people in terms of mental illness and other medical issues. And there's no long-term care psychiatric. There is acute care psychiatric hospitals, inpatient hospitalization, and then we get you out of there. You're not supposed to stay in the hospital. I get it, she's not in a hospital, but you basically got her in lockdown. She would have more rights being in a psychiatric center. She would be given more freedoms than what it appears from me, from my little place, that she's being given right now. So, I don't know. This is just, it's crazy to me. Yeah, it just seems like there's no flexibility. I love it. Lita says, Michael Jackson and Kanye West seem way crazy. But since they were men, no one had to take care of them. Yeah, like, I don't know. And I saw something too, like there was different emails and phone calls and things that have been leaked. She's got a brother too, right? And a sister. We haven't mentioned those other family members, but real quick, I find it very odd. Her sister, the hell's her sister's name? Why can't I think of it right now? I like that I look at Jason like he's gonna know what the hell her name is. Her little sister there, the one that was on that Nickelodeon show, but she really doesn't say much either. I know she's gotten shit on social media for not saying anything, and then she eventually clapped back and was like, you guys don't know anything about anything. Her older brother briefly did an interview and acknowledged the conservatorship, but didn't really say much more about it. I don't know. And her mom, it just kind of seems not involved, and I almost feel like, so her mom and dad are divorced, right? But I don't know. It seems like her dad almost like pushed her mom out of the picture. I read something, oh, Jamie Lynn. That's right, there's Jamie Lynn Spears, the sister, and then Jamie Spears, the father. So very confusing. Very confusing for me. But there was some emails leaked, and one was Lynn Spears, her mom, to the father, Jamie, saying like, please, like, I am her mother. Like, give me access to my baby's health records. Like he wouldn't even share Brittany's medical records with her, assuming this is all true and valid, you guys. But, so that was leaked. And it was just kind of interesting. It was like, why are you keeping her out of the mix? Because I think the mom just wanted to take Brittany back home to Louisiana when this all took place. She was like, let me take my baby out of friggin' LA, number one. Like, not the place to be when you're having a meltdown and you're famous and the paparazzi's everywhere. Why didn't they just bring her home to Louisiana with her family, you know? Maybe Brittany didn't want to go. Who knows? Maybe she wasn't going to go. But it just seems odd that now the mom is like, where's the mom in all this? Like, not commenting. What else? I like that during the documentary they had like some of the dancers talking about their experience with Brittany, because obviously like they, you know, I'm sure they knew her as well as they could, but they had a good experience with her to kind of speak to her character and how involved she was. Like, I like that they kind of made that point that it's not like Brittany was just a yes person. Like, no, she was in control of everything. Like, if she didn't like the way something was being done, she spoke up. Like, she took ownership. She had ideas. She was very active and present in her career. And during that time, it seemed like, again, I'm mind blown where she was as a woman not being confident. If you watch, you guys have to find that documentary for the record, because the conservatorship was in place. They had deemed her incompetent, or whatever. You guys know what I'm saying. in that documentary, there was no signs. That just, to me, would not be someone that seems incapable of making decisions for themselves. I'm sorry. And yes, film is film. Things can be edited, sliced and diced a certain way. But I wasn't seeing it. I wasn't seeing it. So, and I haven't found anyone that doesn't find this creepy, weird, or off somehow. You know, you're getting the people speaking up in the media saying, it's maybe not our place to talk about it. There's more, I'm sure there's more behind the scenes. I think a lot of us agree that we hope at some point Brittany will get the ability to give her side of all this, because I think we're all dying to know what the truth is. And I don't know if it's that, like, I don't even know if I believe she has full, like, ownership of her Instagram account. That's kind of the other thing. It's like, does she really, does someone censor that stuff? Does she even just have free access to her cell phone? Like, I don't think she does. I don't think she can just call who she wants, because that was something too that got mentioned in the documentaries. Like, there's some phone calls too that were leaked where she's like calling, like, things are going forward so I can see my kids, and my dad's not going to be in charge of my conservatorship, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. It just seems like she literally has access to nothing. And being that her Instagram's so weird, I think she does it, but I think someone else is the one that actually, like, officially puts it out and gives it the seal of approval, maybe. Like, maybe she says, I want to post this dance video, and someone else puts it up for her. I don't know. Yeah, I agree, Rachy, BB Fit. I don't think anyone, I mean, I'm sure other child stars could relate to it, but it's really kind of hard to know. Like, just I would call it trauma from what she's gone through the media. I mean, she was on a magazine every week. She was all over the place. People critiqued anything they could critique of her. So, I would say that probably has permanently impacted her. I would not doubt that she definitely will have lifelong issues, or maybe there was a genetic predisposition there for her to have some type of mental illness, and with the trauma that she experienced, that's what kind of turned on those genetics in her, or switched off certain things in terms of her chemical balances. I mean, I don't really know, I'm not a doctor, but who really knows? Like, no one knows. I guess that's just it, and it's really sad. But it sounds like there's upcoming hearings. So hopefully that'll maybe go somewhere. Like, I think the New York Times doing this documentary was probably a good thing, because even though the Free Britney movement's been out there, it's still kind of been something not super discussed. So the New York Times highlighting it, I don't know, I follow the New York Times and stuff, so I do follow a lot of what comes out in their media, but I think brought the light back to it, really put a spotlight on it. So if there's any hope, maybe we gotta get Kim Kardashian on this case. Isn't Kim Kardashian like an official, like, lawyer now? Can she help us out? Maybe she can help a sister out. I feel like she might be the right person. Oh yeah, definitely. Julie, I mean, who knows? That's just the abuse that we saw in the media that was being filmed. We have no clue what goes on behind the scenes. I can't even imagine. One of the documentaries I was watching, like, they just mentioned, like, if you guys know, like, with Kesha level that she was under, and she will forever be under that light. I kind of think of her in the same, like, celebrity light as a Michael Jackson, right? Like, I think most of us would agree, like, she's up there in terms of the fame and the legacy that she's created, and, like, no one else just kind of got to that level that Britney Spears did. So, wouldn't that be the court case, having Kim K on there? It's just also sad, you guys. We're coming up on the end of the hour, and I have talked more than I thought I was going to talk. I didn't know I had that in me after a rather long work day. Actually, no, it wasn't really a long work day, but I feel very accomplished. I actually moved today, so that was big for me. So yeah, I'm tired. But anyways, it was really fun chatting about this. I know this didn't educate anyone, or maybe I educated you on the Britney Spears situation a bit, because I'll say only like slightly engrossed in it, whereas like there's like people are making careers off the Free Britney movement. I need to start getting into the podcasts and stuff too, but I'm just not a podcaster. Like I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, quite honestly, unless it's like snippets of Joe Rogan with my husband or MMA stuff with my husband. So I don't really like get into the podcast stuff, but and I also don't want to consume too much like we have to be mindful of what kind of content we consume, right? So, you know, we have to kind of pick and choose. So I appreciate the 56 of you joining me tonight to consume this content. I just thought it'd be fun, and it's something to talk about. I don't know how we help her. I'm sure I have seen, like, if you go to, I think it's called Brittany Graham. They're the two that do the podcast. They have an Instagram. I think they have a website where they do have some links for how you can support the Free Britney movement, but I quite honestly haven't dove into it to have an understanding of like what that equates to. Like, are you donating money that like supports them, or no clue here. So I don't personally know how we can help her. I don't. I wish I did. I feel like I wish like speaking about this would help, but I don't think little old me on the tiny little corner of my internet is gonna help anything. I guess just something to be mindful of, and if anything, like, let's all just like think about how we treat others, okay? Like, when you see someone who's going through something, instead of being like, they're fucking crazy, or what the hell's wrong with them, or making fun of them, like, have some empathy. Like, look at them and go, that really sucks. Like, they're going through something right now, and I wouldn't want to be in that situation where, you know, like, if there's anything I've taken away from working in psychiatrics, it's how you treat people, how you talk to people, and let's just be more cognizant of that, whether it's your significant other or a random stranger walking down the street talking to themselves with their pants hanging down to their ankles. Like, let's think about how we treat people, how we look at people, how we talk to people, and just like, let's all be better, right? I guess that's my message here. So thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I'll be back for more lives, more content on YouTube. So before you head on out of here, do me a favor, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. You hit that post notification bell. That will update you guys every time I upload content. And you can follow me over on socials too, Kara Corey Fit Life on Instagram. I'm, you know, decently active over there as well with some other content. So if you guys enjoyed this, then let me know. It always helps me out. If you want to take a little screenshot, sometimes you share it on your Insta stories and you tell others to go watch it if you think if other people would enjoy it. That always helps me out, brings other people to the channel, and I much appreciate it. And mostly, I just want to say I appreciate all of you guys genuinely hanging out with me tonight, supporting me on social media, and just, you know, being my friends and my fam and chit-chatting about Britney Spears. It's cool stuff we have here on the internet. So thank you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful night. Go spend the rest of your night digging into some Britney Spears research, watch some